Hey guys, welcome to another episode of As Told by Ari. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. It's been a little rough as of late. I actually just lost a family member, and it's been putting all of us pretty hard. So, I had to take like a real quick hiatus, and it was only like a couple days, but literally the day I filmed a new episode, that's when I found out the news. So I never really got to post it. So I kind of just wanted to say hey and thanks again for coming back. A lot of you have reached out and sent your condolences, and it means the absolute world to me, so thank you so much. And you guys are actually the very reason why I've been kind of lifted out of my fog to do another video. That being said, the requests have actually grown so much about like issues and things that people want me to talk about. So this week, even though it'll definitely be a little harder, I'm going to release a new episode every day. It's going to be a variety of topics, really. And I've gotten requests ranging from relationships to politics to even religion in some cases, which some of these I'm probably not going to touch on just because I don't want to just say things that that I don't want to offend people. I want to actually be educated on when I talk about things. So some things I may not talk about, or at least not right now until I have, more information. So please keep sending in the requests. Please keep sharing the posts and the videos because it's getting more people to the page and it's adding more discussion and more participation to just life, and that is the whole point of As Told by Ari. So again, guys, thank you so much for all your subscriptions, thank you for all your shares, all your likes, and thank you just for being as supportive as you have been. That being said, I'm going to go on a limb and talk about relationships in this video. This is only cringeworthy for me just because A, I have to think back on a lot of interesting times of my life, and B, I didn't want this to turn into like a Teen Vogue segment, but, I feel like relationships are a very intricate part of our lives, and just as much as politics or, anything really that I've talked about on here, I feel as though, this is kind of, at least for my generation, I feel like this is a interesting time for our lives, so I feel like it would be doing a real disservice if I don't talk about it after so many people have asked me to talk about it. So, because relationships can be as broad as they are, I have decided to break this up into 3 parts. So we'll talk about relationships from a breakup aspect, from the you are new and you're just trying to find out what you're doing aspect, and for those of you that are in relationships already. Again, I should also say, I'm sorry I'm umming, I'm just getting nervous. I should also tell you guys that I am not the relationship guru. I've been in serious relationships, but I'm not the end-all be-all. So if there's ever anything that you want to add to this, please, again, feel free to let me know. My inboxes are always open. So let's get started. So I should be honest, the real reason that I actually started to do this one was because I got a very I'll just say intimate request. One of my friends let me know that they were going through a really bad breakup, and not bad as in like, it may have ended terribly, that it might have, but more so he was explaining to me that he doesn't really understand how he could have these very raw, very dark emotions towards somebody who clearly doesn't care. He put a lot of love and he put a lot into the relationship just for them to really not act like they care. So I guess this one's for everyone going through a really tough breakup, and by tough I more so mean like either you're handling it roughly, or it ended roughly, or you're just kind of in a place and you don't really know what to do as this point goes. If you get nothing else out of this video, for those of you, just for everybody, know that it always gets better. I say that because it always does. It always gets better. Because at the end of the day, something that a relationship will teach you, present tense, it will teach you the type of person that you want to be in the present for that person, whether it's good or bad. Listen, people bring out a lot of stuff from other people, so good or bad is still a thing. And I also believe that relationships teach you the person that you want to be later in life, because when you've been with a person, when you guys have exchanged your energies and your auras, you either A, take on their characteristics, or B, they bring out characteristics of you, and they can be good or bad. So, you know, I think that relationships first and foremost teach us that we want to be a certain type of person in the moment, and we want to be a certain type of person later in life. And I think that when you're going through a breakup, you know, you're so focused on your emotions of the situation that you don't really think about the reality of the situation. And I'm not saying that your emotions aren't a reaction to the reality of it, but people, and myself included, you know, we have a tendency as human beings to focus on how we feel in a certain situation versus looking at the grand scheme of the situation. You could be feeling so hurt and so upset and so this and so that you don't take the time to realize that the reality of the situation could have been something you caused. It could be something that you had no control over. It really could be anything, but the main thing I'm trying to point out is that we as human beings focus more on emotion than reality, especially when those emotions are negative. So for those of you that are going through a breakup, or you've been broken up with, or you broke up with somebody, and you know, you're just having a tough time really figuring out your feelings right now, that is okay. Your feelings are valid, no matter what the feeling is, and I'm granted there are obvious exceptions to this rule. But your feelings are valid. You've gone through a breakup. You're allowed to be hurt and upset and kind of just dark in a place. But two big things, that being said. A, don't stay there. You know, don't ever, ever give somebody that type of power in your life to be able to keep you in a stagnant place, especially a dark, stagnant place. The whole point of, and I know this might sound really cliche, but like the whole point of being in a relationship with somebody, being with somebody in its fullness, is really giving somebody the power to hurt you and just trusting that they don't. And unfortunately, being human beings, that trust can definitely be misplaced. It can definitely be misused. And, you know, that's just a certain type of power that we have to just learn how to take back if it's been misused. At the end of the day, while you can never change what has happened, you can absolutely change the way you see it, and you can change what you take away from it. And you know, when you've misplaced your trust in somebody, that doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you dumb for caring about somebody. It doesn't make you naive, or you know, it doesn't make you any negative thought that I'm sure you've had because of how it ended. But if anything, that should show you that you're capable of doing that. You're capable of being with another person, and you're capable of having those feelings toward another person. Now, it is more a battle of taking that situation, and while it may have been as negative as it was, finding some positives in it. Like the fact that now you know what you like in people. Now you know what you can't do in your next relationship. Now you know what you can suffer and what you can't suffer from. Now you know what type of person you're attracted to, what type of person you're not attracted to. These are things that, believe it or not, will really have you going a very far way. And it's just a shame that most people don't find these positives until, you know, it's months later down the road. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to give yourself time to heal. I'm not saying that you should be immediately thinking about being with another person after a breakup. But those same positives that you would find in trying to be with another person, you can find in yourself. You can find the good qualities that you have, that you know you've contributed to the relationship. And you also can take the time to know the negatives that you contributed, the issues that you brought into the relationship that you probably didn't even know you brought into it. You know, these are things that help us heal as people. These are things that help us process why we are the way we are. And honestly, to be real, it can even help you figure out if you are this type of person. Like, a lot of people don't even know if they are the type of person they want to be. They don't even know if they're the type of person that they would want to be in a relationship with until they're in a relationship and they, you know, they have the time to see, wow, I cannot do that to people, or whoa, I do this and I really need to relax, or man, I notice that I feel this type of way because of my past relationships, or whatever the reason is. But you know that you have these moments, these epiphanies that hit you either after or, you know, during, where you're just like, ooh, I really shouldn't do that. Or, ooh, I probably should get that fixed. You know, there's a lot that you can learn from your breakups. And I think the two biggest things I want you guys to take away from it is, A, it always gets better. And B, this is kind of the point where you can grow from this. And I really do say that, understanding that there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of things that are going on through someone's life as they're dealing with a breakup. But I don't know, me being the person that I am, you know, while I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't taken, you know, weeks to grieve somebody, I know for a fact that after the breakup happened, while I may have been sad and while I definitely, you know, needed to get my shit together, I can honestly say, and my friends can attest to this as well, I am someone that does not like to dwell in my sadness. I don't do sad at all. I don't do it well at all. I am way too uppity. So when I am sad, my body genuinely doesn't know what to do. Like, it doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, it's really bad. So after I've dealt with breakups, I am that person that, you know, I look at it. Yeah, I might be sad, but I will cut my hair. I'll dye my hair. I'll do something, write it all out, and you'll see me at like a park the next day, or you'll see me, yeah, I might have cried once or twice during the daytime that day, but you will not see me just sitting in it, because that's just not the type of person I am. And I get that not everybody's that person, but if you can learn how to be, I'm telling you, your life is that much more fun. I can say that while I have known heartbreak, I have never let I've never let heartbreak just run my life into the ground. I can honestly say I would never give somebody that type of power over my life, because my life is way too precious for that, and so is yours. So, you know, that being said, again, feel your feelings. They are valid, but don't ever give somebody the type of power over you to control whether or not you'll be happy again, because that is not the power, A, that they deserve, and B, that is not what you deserve. You know, it doesn't matter how wrong or right you were to leave or to be left. No one deserves to have an unnatural presence over somebody else. And it doesn't matter how much you love them. That shouldn't ever be a thing. You should never do that. That being said, this part is for my friends who have asked me countless times, well, how do you get over it? And how do you do better? And how do you not sit in it? Guys, I have told you this 700 times. So I guess I'll tell you 701 times over. Put in the same energy that you would towards somebody else into yourself. The same amount of time, effort, and precision you would put into a relationship, a person, is what you should be doing for yourself. I know that sounds really stupid. It can sound cliche, borderline trivial, but you would be amazed at how many people stop actually doing things for themselves and focusing 100% on the other person. Yes, you may say you put yourself first. You may say you do this, this, and this, but I promise you 9 times out of 10, if you are in a relationship and you are just head over heels for this person, you are not putting into yourself nearly as much as you are putting into them. I promise. I promise. That is coming from somebody who really did think she was putting into herself as much as she was putting into other people, until she got cheated on and left and realized that this person was still doing better off than she was, because I was just allowing myself to sit in it. And, you know, again, not being cheated on and left was my fault, but not putting into myself was my fault. You know, I gave that person the ammunition to see me as, you know, a mere thing that they could just have. And that's kind of why, you know, it obviously didn't end up working out. And again, I'm not putting that type of blame on myself. I am merely taking responsibility for the fact that as a young woman, you know, me being who I am, period, I could have been doing a lot more to feel more satisfied and to feel more loved in the relationship than I did, because I was too busy focusing on, you know, what the other person needed and how the other person felt, versus, you know, taking care of my own mental health and taking care of myself in a way that wouldn't give them so much power over me that when they left, I felt like I was nothing. You know, you should always be putting into yourself. And anybody that loves you and that actually shows they love you will make sure that you put into yourself. So before we can even get into you guys being with other people, understand that nobody is going to love you the way you need to love yourself. And I'm not saying that to be cliche. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm literally saying that because you can get into a relationship with the best person on this planet. And I promise, if you do not love yourself, it will not work out. For the simple fact that nobody is going to be able to love you if you don't know what you need. Yes, they can show you care, they can show you love, they can show you that you're worthy of it. But if you do not inherently and intrinsically believe that you yourself should be getting more from you yourself, then there are holes in you that they'll never be able to fill because you don't even know that they're there. You're not even aware of the problems that you have. And while someone is trying to fill those holes or trying to fill the gaps that you need, because you don't know they're there, there's always going to be something missing. You're always going to be needing something else. And that builds resentment, that builds anger, that builds impatience. It builds a lot of negative things that could have been alleviated had, we just taken care of ourselves when we were supposed to. Versus waiting for a relationship to be like, oh, this is what's saving me. This is my pride and joy. No. While relationships can save you in some ways, you first and foremost have to be your own Superman. And you should never put a relationship above your own well-being, ever. So this segment, this little part right here, is for all of my friends who have asked me 1,000,000 times over, how do you deal with being single? Because Ari, you've never been single. You've never been this. You've never been that. Yeah, guys, I have been single. Believe it or not, I've been single. It's crazy, but I have been. It's not like I have this crazy dating history where, I've been I've been single, guys. And on top of that, I've been in relationships where I felt like I was single. Not like I was doing single-minded things, but that's just how unsupported I was. You can be lonely in relationships. You can be heartbroken in relationships. So it doesn't take you just being literally single to feel single, okay? So my only thing to that really is the same thing I've been telling you over our text and our phone calls is put into you and put into yourself until you feel until you don't feel like you feel the need to be with another person. Because that's the only time you'll actually be able to be ready to be with another person, is when you don't feel like you have to be. Be content with you and learn how to be content with you. And that means, doing stuff that you've never done before, finding out what you like, finding out what you don't like. If that means you need to, reach out to a few more people, then do that. If that means you need to be a little bit more secluded for a little bit to figure out what you like, then do that. There's countless things that you can do. Learn to cook, write a book, fly an airplane, I don't know, go bungee jumping. There's like 1,000,007 things that you can do to put into you that will build so much more love and content for yourself that by the time you finally feel as though you even want to be in a relationship, well, dude, you've built yourself up so much, and you've probably built yourself up around a community that finding, the next level of your life isn't going to be hard. Because you've been putting so much good into yourself that good has to follow. And I know, again, that might sound cliche for a lot of you, but I will at least say for my life, that's exactly what's happened. The more I've put into me, the better my life has been. And if we're talking about dating, good Lord, when I tell you I have upgraded times 50 million, I've upgraded times 50 million. And that's because I first had to put into myself and get myself out of some very interesting situationships to allow myself to find the good in what's going on, or to allow myself to receive the blessings that God has really just been waiting to give me, guys. Just a little quick backstory for those of you who don't know. So my current boyfriend, he is the absolute love of my life. His name is Devin, and he's by far the biggest upgrade of my life. And he's just been such a blessing that, granted, while, don't get me wrong, guys, we're not perfect. We argue like every other couple. We have our moments like every other couple. We've gone through it like every other couple. But the difference between my relationship with him and the past relationships that I've been in is that he shows me that I am more than enough. And not because that I'm in the relationship. He knew that before we were in a relationship. And it's because, I showed him that at the end of the day, dude, while I might really dig you, I know that I come first. So regardless, you either need to be able to match that energy for me, or this isn't going to work. And when I tell you, not only was he like, okay, yeah, I'm in that. I am, yep, that's, yep. Not only has he fully encouraged me to add to myself, but he has more than 1000% done the same thing for me. And we wouldn't even have had the opportunity to do this if I hadn't taken myself out of a very toxic situation. It's toxic, period. So that I said all that to say that at the end of the day, guys, it does 100% take you taking yourself and putting more into yourself than it ever will come down to finding your best person or the love of your life. You won't be able to do any of that until you have fully put into yourself, and you won't ever be able to do that until you love yourself the way you expect somebody else to love you, because that's another thing. Love comes with expectations, and until you know what it means to love you, to discipline yourself, to actually, care about you, no one's love will ever meet your expectation, because you've never even done what it takes to meet that expectation for yourself. And guys, it takes a lot to love yourself. It really does. And that being said, let's go into the people who are in relationships, because I've gotten a lot of these requests from you guys, actually. So I guess this is kind of the time where I'd tell my little story stemming from Devin. So how me and Devin met a couple years ago. I was a sophomore in college. He was a freshman in college. We were at this party in my friend's house, and I saw him on the couch. And again, I was definitely inebriated. I am a barrel of fun when I am just myself, but let alone when I'm, intoxicated. So I'm walking around this party, and we're all talking, and everyone's having a really good time. And Devin isn't saying anything to anybody. Guys, he's sitting on this couch, not talking to anybody. Now, I should tell you that Penn State Barron, while it is a big school, it is not that big of a school, guys. When you go to a party, you're 9 times out of 10 going to know everybody there. So, the fact that this was one of my friends' parties, and we have mutual friends, I knew everybody at this party, except, 2 or 3 people. Which, again, smaller parties, you get to know them pretty quick. You just talk, and everyone's loud, and, whatever. You play games and call it a day. So his friend Javier was like, hey, I'm Javier, blah, blah, blah. And we're talking, it's fine. I'm laughing. I'm like, who has the aux? I'm trying to change the music and stuff like that. And Devin still isn't saying anything to me. Now, guys, this is when I found out that I had an ego, because I had no idea I had an ego at this rate. And I was, offended by that. I don't know. I just really didn't appreciate how, literally, guys, when I tell you everybody in this room was talking to somebody, Devin was the only person not talking. And if you've ever seen my boyfriend, he is just beautiful. He's just immaculate. So, again, this is when I found out I have an ego, because the prettiest person in the room, while I might not think I'm a 10, he's a 10, I'm still thinking, wow, he's not talking to me, and I'm offended by this. So my intoxicated self walks up to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm Ari. And he, really doesn't, he's like, hey, hi, I'm Devin. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you're a piece of shit. And I got up and I literally looked at my friend Janae, and I was like, I don't know why you invited this bitch here, but I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate his presence. I don't appreciate his attitude. He just came off way too smooth, way too slick. He knew he was the hottest dude in the party, and that just messed with me. And it shouldn't, because who cares, Ari? But it did. So fast forward a couple years, turns out, dude, every time I see him, I'm like, I don't want to talk to him, don't bring him near me. Turns out this mofo's looking for me, but people are pronouncing my name wrong. They're saying my name wrong. My name is Ari, not Ari, and because of that, he's like, dude, I don't know. I tried to find you on Instagram. I was like, I tried to find you on Twitter, but nobody knew your stuff. Nobody had your stuff, and I'm like, of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. Because, to be fair, those my freshman and sophomore year, while I was a force on my campus, I was not that well known. People just knew me as the loud girl on campus. They didn't really have my social media stuff. So it makes sense. So, flash forward again. So again, we have mutual friends, guys, and finally, Devin has seen me rant in Bruno's, which is a cafe on our campus. He's seen me dance in there just for no reason. This dude he's been around to see me do weird stuff. But again, we've never talked past this party, because again, didn't really bang with him. And then I found out that he kind of had a reputation. Again, he's pretty. So he had a reputation at one point, and I was like, oh, I really have no time for you. I have no time for players. None. So I really didn't care. And then I was in a relationship, so I was like, yeah, who cares about that guy? He's just a player. Who cares? Whatever. So fast forward to 2017, and I am exiting a very drawn out situationship with an ex, and Devin had like started to like, so he started to follow me on like Snapchat and stuff like that after we had a talk in Bruno's, and I was like, whoa, guys, like, he's messaging me, like, this is crazy. And again, I'm in this situationship, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, Devin texting me was kind of like the little spark I needed to know. I was like, okay, all right, yeah, okay. So, like, I don't need to be in this situationship for comfort, because that's exactly what it's for. On both of our ends, we were both in this definitely for comfort. My ex was graduating, and, we knew each other. We were very, familiar in a very unfamiliar territory. So, when Devin starts messaging me, that's unfamiliar to me. And, again, I'm kind of like, this isn't going anywhere. So, like, this needs to end anyway. So, I ended or whatever. And I'm not even exaggerating, guys. Not even 2 weeks later, Devin's like, he's like, so, like, what are you doing? And, we like, we're just chatting or whatever. No big deal. And I'm in a fashion show, and he's there, guys. He goes to the fashion show. I'm thinking he's joking, by the way, when he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. He's front row at this fashion show. Guys, I wanted to die. I literally came out my first walk and saw him there, and I wanted to throw up. I was so shook. So, he's at this fashion show. He's like, whoa, like, you can see on his face that he's just, like, mesmerized by, like, everything that's going on. And I'm just like, this is not real. This is really unreal. So flash forward, we have this party. Afterwards, things get out of hand. I am not going to go into this story. If you guys really want to know that much about me and Devin, I promise I will make a completely separate episode to tell you our story. But just know that this party got out of hand. And long story short, Devin wound up in the hospital, and I took one of his best friends, Ryan, to the hospital. Later would be his roommate, to the hospital, and he didn't expect me to be there, and I was there, and blah, blah, blah. So me being his Superman for the night, it's like 5:30 by the time we all leave the hospital. I dropped him off, and guys, when I tell you I'm so hell-bent on going home, like, I don't care about anything else. I could care less about anything. I wanted to go home. I was tired. So, like, I'm just annoyed at the fact that, like, now I have to walk up to the hill. But at this point, I'm like, I don't even care if I have to walk. I'm going home. So I start to walk. I, like, dropped him off. I give Ryan his keys back. Ryan shouldn't be driving, so Ryan doesn't drive. But, like, I drove him to the hospital or whatever. And Devin's like, where are you going? And I'm like, what do you mean, where am I going? I'm going home. Like, I'm going home. And he's like, and you could tell, guys, that this hurt him so bad to, like, ask me this question. But he was like, will you, like, stay with me? And I was like, what part of I'm going, like, I started to get mad. Like, and I'm sure he could see that. I was like, first of all, that's not even how I roll. And secondly, I'm going home. He's like, no, not even like that. He's like, I swear, nothing like that. He was like, I just want you to stay with me tonight. And I was like, if you try anything, I swear on my life, I have every single right to not only kill you if I want to, but I have every right to give you a black eye. And I was so serious, guys. Like, I was not playing games. And he was like, you have nothing to worry about. He's like, I really appreciate everything you did for me tonight, and I just really want you to stay with me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So we walk to his room, guys. The door's locked. The door is locked. So I'm thinking, all right, that's enough of that. I'm just still going to go home, and you're going to sleep on Ryan's couch or Janae's or anybody whose door is open who was at this event tonight. And he's like, before I can even say, well, I'm going to go, he literally turns to me and goes, well, it looks like I'm staying with you tonight. And I was like, okay. And that was really, I guess, the beginning of me and Devin's, like, actual courtship. And I said all that to say because so many people wondered, like, everyone has said so many times, like, oh, you and Devin are so perfect. Like, I don't get how you guys don't do this and you don't do this. And guys, we're not perfect. I promise. I promise you, there have been people that have seen us argue. There are people that have seen us just go through it, okay? Go through some very real things. And if you take nothing away from anything else, because I know that story really drew out the video, and I'm sorry about that, but I really wanted to paint that picture for you guys so that you could see that, yes, we had a very interesting beginning, and we're cute, and I love him with all my heart, and he loves me too. But I say all that to say, because a lot of you know the good side of me and Devin. You guys see our posts, you see our pictures, you know, you see us talking to each other back and forth on social media like we're not right next to each other when it's happening. But we're not perfect. And a lot of our happiness and a lot of where we're at now after a year and some change comes from the fact that we've had to forgive each other for a lot. We've had to really forgive each other for some stuff. And that's one of the key points of a relationship is forgiveness. Yes, they tell you trust is the biggest thing, and they tell you communication is the biggest thing, but what they don't tell you is that in order to move on to trust somebody and in order to move on to communicate with somebody is that you have to forgive them for being human, for being, for not being healed, for not being perfect. You have to forgive them for being human. And if there's nothing else that I want you guys to get out of this segment, for those of you in relationships, for those of you who want to be in relationships, and for those of you who are just not sure relationships are for you, forgiveness is key. I would say that the triangle is trust, communication, and forgiveness. That's the triangle. Because you can love someone with all your heart and you can trust them with all your heart, but until you can honestly say that you've forgiven them for putting you in certain emotional spaces and for forgiving you for just doing some things that are wrong, for just forgiving them for arguments and petty bullshit, it comes down to really taking your pride and putting it all the way over here so that person can actually do what it takes for you to forgive them. And I promise, guys, it doesn't always happen in a day or an hour. There have been, I'll just be honest with you guys. Me and Devin have even talked about breaking up before. That's how not perfect we are. But the difference between, that and a relationship that would have ended already, at least for me anyway, is the fact that he, just like me, he refuses to give up. And to have that type of tenacity, that type of perseverance for another person takes forgiveness. Because, guys, I'm not perfect either, and neither is he. So, when you want to grow with somebody and when you want that person to be in your life for as long as you can have them, that means that you guys are going to go through some shit, and that means you are going to have to forgive them for some of the shit they put you through. That's what that means. And personally, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm not talking about cheating, ladies, or men. I'm not talking about cheating at all. Personally, I don't mess with that. Once you've done it once, I genuinely feel like you can do it again. That the one line that you couldn't cross, you've crossed. So as far as cheating goes, this isn't for you guys. If you're a cheater, personally, I think you're a piece of shit, but that's just me. Not saying that I'm not saying that you're, no, you're a piece of shit. I'm sure someone will forgive you one day. Maybe it'll be God, but it wouldn't be me. Anyway, moving on. There are just 1,000,007 things that can happen, that can go down, that you'll have to forgive someone for, that you might not even think you had to, but you will. And when you want to make it work for someone, you will do it. You will do whatever it takes. You will put in the time of however long it takes to make sure that you forgive that person so that you guys can continue to grow with each other. And that's what forgiveness actually is. Forgiveness is actually making sure that you guys take whatever situation that caused pain and hurt and anger and growing from it. And if that means having to talk about it more than once, if that means having to get counseling even, if that means you guys need to spend a day or two apart to really process what has to happen, do what you need to do to make sure that you can forgive that person and that the relationship can remain healthy and positive. Because it's one thing to forgive someone and you hold on to it. That's not really forgiveness, but a lot of people think it is. To keep bringing it up and throwing it in someone's face is not forgiveness. To bring it up as an example of one point and as to actually talk about it, that's different. So, I don't want to ramble, and I won't continue to go on and on and on and on and on. But I guess just to recap, if you're going through a breakup, it gets better. It always does. And this is the time for you to put into you anyway. I know you might miss this person. I'm sure that they may have wronged you, so you may feel hurt and you may feel like the world owes you something. If the world owes you anything, you know what? I take that back. It doesn't owe you anything. And if anybody owes you anything, it's yourself. You owe you the positivity that you've been seeking. You owe you the love that you need and that you've been wanting from that other person for so long. And considering you couldn't get it from the other person, you are the only other person you can get that love from. So put into yourself as much as you have put into the person that has hurt you, or the person that, you know, you've hurt even. Because there's two sides to every story, and at the end of the day, you should have been putting into yourself long before your relationship anyway. For those of you that are just kind of in this middle place where you're not really sure what you want to do, if your relationship's for you or not, that's fine. That's fine for not for you right now. The world's pretty crazy, and to be fair, you know, up until I met Devin, I thought the love was kind of dead. So, you know, it's okay for you to be in a place where you're not really sure what's going on and you're not really sure what you want to do. Just continue to put into you the same way I've been saying a million times over, because the only way you're going to find out what you want is by doing what you want and by doing what makes you happy. And I mean that in a positive, healthy way, not a negative, unhealthy type of way, because I mean, that could really be everything, and I'm not going to judge. So everyone's got their vices, but keep it healthy and keep it positive, because you want healthy, positive things to come into your life. And the only way you can do that is if you put that out into the world. And I really do believe that. And, you know, last but not least, for those of you who are in relationships, who are, you know, you're kind of with, whether you're figuring out if it's the love of your life or you're already sure, just communicate. Continue to communicate and trust, and above all else, forgive, because, you know, you're human and so is your counterpart. And it's not fair to have unrealistic, unhuman expectations for someone when, you know, you're a work in progress every day, just by yourself. So let alone being with another person, guys, that takes work. It takes work that, while you'll love doing it, it will make you tired sometimes, and it will make you mad, and they'll make you annoyed, and they'll make you crazy, and they'll bring things out of you that I promise no one else has ever brought out of you before. But that's why it's worth it. The fact that someone has been able to so intrinsically hit your soul and so intrinsically hit you in a way that, you know, you don't even realize that you're yourself or you're not yourself sometimes. And, you know, that's the kind of love that, you know, while some may say it's unhealthy, it can be if you let it be. But just loving someone so much that they can bring certain things out of you, that can be so positive and so life-changing, it's insane. But you have to make sure that it's in a positive way, and you have to make sure that on both ends you guys are getting the proper, you both are trusting on a proper level, you both are communicating on a proper level, and above all else, you're forgiving each other every step of the way, because that's what it takes. So that was my relationship segment. I hope I said something that can help you guys. If I didn't, please let me know, and I'll do another one. I can do a part 2 if you'd like. My inboxes are always open. I have Twitter, I have Snapchat, I have Instagram, Facebook, I have everything. So if you guys are interested in talking, if you would like to just have a discussion, if you want to pick your brain or whatever have you, please feel free to get a hold of me, because I'm not hard to reach, and I'm definitely not hard to find. So thank you again for tuning into another episode of As Told by Ari, and I will see you guys tomorrow, because I'll be letting out another one tomorrow. So peace and love to all of you, and thanks again, guys.